What's up? Hey, everybody. Welcome back into the Orange Zone podcast. We had a brief hiatus, but we're back now. We got a lot to talk about. It's the full crew today. Tommy Sladek, Ashley Wenskoski, Samantha Croston, Lawrence, Poetry, and Moten, and we have Rachel Culver on the producer mic. On today's episode, we are getting into Eddie Lampkin wearing number 44. It's gotten some reaction, especially from someone that wore this 44 in the past, and Derek Coleman. We're going to be talking about that and hearing really some reaction from fans on social media. We are right on the doorstep of the NBA draft. Judah Mintz, is he getting picked? Is he going to end up in a camp? I think we feel pretty good about one, maybe not the other. We'll get in on a deep dive on that. And then finally, women's basketball on SU. Sue Ludwig is retiring. A new coach is coming in. We'll have an update on that coaching staff. So first off, let's open it up. Let's see how everyone's feeling. Last day of school for Poetry. So he's ready for summer vacation.
Oh, yeah. Ready for summer vacation. Beach, here I come, and see my family.
There we go.
What was your favorite memory this school year?
Oh, man. I got a couple. But I deal with some kids with, certain mental issues, and I can honestly say one of my favorite kids, Jaden Gansey. He was a tough one, but I really felt like I changed his soul, and he's going to be better for sure. He told me that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How rewarded.
That's exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Love that feeling. How are you two doing? Mets podcast doing great.
Yep.
Yeah, we're good.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I mean, we're doing good. Obviously, some ups and downs from the actual Mets standpoint, but we eclipsed 500 subscribers on
Congratulations.
the Wine Mets pod. Thanks.
Very
that was exciting. Outside of that, I'm pretty sure Casty is on her last week, so I feel really on the up and up and ready to put that chapter of my life behind me.
It's lasted longer than I expected.
That's because
Then we
it
found
ended
out-
up being broken.
Yeah.
That's why. But we're good. It's healing. Actually had my doctor's appointment a few days ago, and they essentially said, you can wear it kind of for another week, and beyond that, it's really sort of up to you to see how you're feeling, and then you kind of have to move away from it. It almost feels weird not wearing it now.
Yeah.
But my hand's gonna be cold and scared out in the wild. But we'll be okay.
Good. Rachel, you doing good?
Yeah, I got no complaints. I just want everybody to know that Sam does have a "I'm sorry for doing this to you" present on the way, so we're gonna be good.
That's really exciting.
We already
I love
are
that.
good.
Check out the past episode for the full story. It involves cornhole and Rachel Culver. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the talk of the talk today, and that is incoming center Eddie Lampkin, transfer, a big talker coming in from Colorado. Posted on social media a picture of his locker that said Lampkin Jr. and then the number 44. And Mike Waters confirmed that on X, Twitter, and Derek Coleman this morning responding to that, saying, quote, "I'm not surprised by John Wildak and then at Coach Red Autry and his staff. Orange Nation, this is why it's such a disconnect between the university and its legends. Coach Boeheim would never did that. Stop watering down the legacy of number 44. So that's a man that wore that number 44, obviously a big deal, and it's got reaction. Let's talk to a former player to hear his thoughts on the way number 44 is used. And that's really will be our discussion today. I will preface it with this, that Eddie, if I'm not mistaken, was wearing number 44 at Colorado. Yes. So it wasn't like this was a random number and he's switching to that. So that is a fact to know in this situation. Important. But Poetry, what was your immediate reaction?
I'm a little shocked, to be honest with you. First of all, that 44 number is a prestigious number in Syracuse sports, whether it be football or basketball or any other sport. But, my issue with the whole thing is any jersey that is up in the rafters should never be worn again, the number, me personally. I personally think that, if you go to other colleges, Duke and North Carolina, those former players have their jerseys, and they've never been worn again. And that's something that starts on the hierarchy of the university, which should know that. And I understand Dirk's little uncomfort in that, when a guy could just come for 1 year and wear a number. Of course, that was his number, but, it's just a new time. I do know that, and we have to understand what's going on in this world that we live in. Everything is about money. You know, everything is about, you know, it's no more loyalty. The loyalty has definitely gone. And, hey, they don't do it in football for the university. Then nobody will ever wear that 44 again unless he's probably considered a 5 or 6 star guy, you know. So I understand Dirk's being upset about that. And my point to it is any number that's retired up in the rafters should never be worn again. They do it at other colleges. Why not at Syracuse?
There we go. Ashley, what are your thoughts on all this?
I think the issue from the fan base is probably because he is a transfer and a 1-year transfer at that. I don't think there would be, maybe I'm wrong, people can like give their opinions, but I don't think it would be as much of an issue if it was like they gave it to Donnie Freeman or one of these like incoming freshman phenom 5-star guys that they thought was going to have a full career at Syracuse. So I think it's the fact that he's a transfer, but then the other side of it is like that was his number at Colorado. So I see both sides. I tend to err more on the side of what you said, Moten, that, you know, it should be reserved for a legendary guy or a freshman guy that's committing to Syracuse, at least right now, for his college career.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like we're like sharing one brain cell these days just because we're spending so much time together. But
Hopefully
I was thinking
you have more than one.
I
should have a few thousand.
It might just be one. We're worn down.
I don't know. Tommy, that fall was pretty big. It might have taken a couple.
That's true. If I sneeze, I feel like I lose 1,000. So
Right?
hopefully more.
No, seriously though, it is like the transfer part is I think what does send people, because even when you think about some of the other sports, because you mentioned it's not even just football and basketball. Like I think about even lacrosse. I know that Emma Ward is wearing 44, and she was someone who came in as a freshman where there was a lot of excitement around her. It was somebody who you knew, oh, this is a really big recruit coming out of Long Island, somebody who has the potential to turn the program around. And really, ultimately, she did, and she stuck with them the whole way through. It's the transfer part, and it's the fact that you don't know in this day and age, like you said, things are changing and we need to be okay with that. But like let's just say that he does, you know, he comes in, he wears it, and then a year later he's gone. Yeah. I think that hurts people's feelings who are really, you know, Syracuse lifers and wanting to see someone who's a little bit more dedicated. Like I think when you put on that number 44, it's also an understanding that not only are you important to Syracuse, but Syracuse is important to you. And it's hard to know with a transfer who's just coming in, you know, whether or not that's truly the case.
And it's also important to know, and do I have this right, that John Wallace was the last guy to
John
wear it?
Wallace,
So
my teammate, was
that
the last one. 28 years ago, 26.
Not to age you, because you're not old, but in basketball years, that's a long time.
Absolutely.
And I think there was a statement made, probably by Jim Boeheim, to where that gap lasted as long as it did, right? And that's
John Wallace had that right.
And it was John Wallace. I mean, Jim Brown, Derek Coleman on here, Danny Chase. So it's you know, people in the I wouldn't say I don't think I would say like Mount Rushmore, but that great scheme of like if you put the poster, it was like the Last Supper of all the SU greats. Like these guys are on there.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing for me is it's these are very established names. I think even if it was given to an incoming freshman, I think that would still roar up a little bit of a debate. And maybe it's a big name that comes in, he's here for a year, and then it's the following year. But ultimately, it's D. Coleman put his thoughts out there.
Yeah, and there's no more loyalty. I'm going back to that, you know, because there was a situation, I guess, about a month ago when Lampkin, we didn't even know if he was going to come. So he took his name, and they say he took everything off
the bio,
off the bio. So it had me thinking that maybe that was one of the reasons. He's like, the only reason I'm coming if I get 44. You know, he might have could have said that. Well,
I think there's more.
Everybody has entitled to that. You know, I mean, he might have, you know, with this new day and age and these young kids, they are so spoiled and adapted to getting their way, where if they don't get their way, they shut down.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the state of college athletics as a whole right now, but it's so much about, like what you're saying, like what is the school going to give to these players?
Right.
And it used to be, what are the players going to bring to this school? But now it's so much about, what can this school do for me? How much money are they going to give me? How much NIL? So I don't know if the 44 was a factor in Lampkin, but it's just not a good feeling.
And that's what they're doing now, you know, and more power to them. the new youth. I'm all about this NIL and these kids making money. I'm happy for them, and I do want them to get the money. But my point is, all of them are not worth it, and all of them think they are.
It is tough because I think everybody feels this way at this point. But it is like you do see both sides. You can understand from a loyalty standpoint how it's changed the game to not have people who start here and finish here. On the other side of the coin, like, why wouldn't a guy like Eddie Lampkin try and come here and make as much money as he can? Like, who wouldn't do that if given the opportunity? And in a way, like, if you're his parents or his friends or him, like, you're proud of him for being able to have that opportunity to be able to go and do that. I wish that there were more opportunities for athletes to make money when I was an athlete. And I'm excited for future generations of athletes that they do get to even squeeze some money out of the schools, let's say. Because I feel like for a while, the balance of power there really was in favor of the school. And that's not really fair to feel like you're doing all of this, hard work in essence for free.
And this is a
But
huge
you have
example
to
right
be
here.
worth it. You have to be worth it.
I agree.
Everybody's not worth it.
You're right.
So that's the only issue I have. And
But you're a big example, man. Like, people made money off of you that wasn't you.
Right.
A lot of money.
Right.
And looking back on that, I think everyone looks back and been like, that's a mistake. That's someone that deserved the check.
This is true. But then they'll go back and say, you were getting paid because you got a free education.
Right.
So
I bet it
was
equated to
200
more
to
than that.
300.
I'll tell you that right now.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just the time. I'm big on loyalty at universities, and I just have to really understand and come to the grips that those days are over. Because even with a guy like Freeman, who I love, he's from my hometown in D.C., he might not be here next year. So it's like, it's hard to really show love for your teams now because you don't know who's going to be there next year.
It's like we're all in relationship therapy. We all have commitment issues, you know what I mean? And I got to say, you know how this would have all been a non-discussion? We wouldn't be talking about it if Eddie Lampkin was just like number 10. Like we would not be having this at all. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like, I don't think that, because that number means something to him, and it means something to the fan base, and it means something to the people that have been a part of this program. And it's just kind of we're hitting heads right now.
And if he plays well, we'll love him.
True.
Right.
Always keep that in mind.
Yep.
All will
Always
be
keep that in
forgiven.
mind. Yeah. Rachel, you have any thoughts?
I have, of course I have thoughts. Come
Yeah,
on, what kind of questions
duh.
are?
It's the basketball
I take a very hard stance on this, actually. I'm pretty cut and dry, and I think it's a really bad move by the university to let it happen. I don't think it really relates as much to an NIL conversation. I think it's pretty cut and dry in terms of the fact that there is a legacy put by a player who forever changed Syracuse University and what Syracuse basketball means. That's undeniable. But I think in what that individual did, it also changed the entirety of the university and the entirety of the university's how they're thought of in modern day, not only basketball, but as putting Syracuse on the map in a lot of ways. I think to not honor that and have that reserved, I don't think it applies to other sports. I think whoever wants to wear 44, if you're a lacrosse player, go for it. I think on that basketball court, on the Jim Boeheim court, I think no one should be wearing 44 because there is a legacy there, and not even to undermine whatever Lampkin does when he comes in here. I'm sure he's going to be great. I'm sure we're all going to love him then. But that doesn't take away from the fact that even though he made the decision to come to the university, and if he feels like he has a right to wear a number, I don't think that that right needs to be granted. And I think if that's what's going to be a deciding factor in him coming here or not, I don't think that's the kind of player you want to wear a Syracuse jersey to begin with.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to what I said earlier. At the end of the day, it starts up top with the administration and the university. And like I said, we might be I don't want to say we are the only, but I'm going to have to do my history and look into that. But we might be the only university that let guys wear the jersey number that have their jerseys retired.
Like, I'm a UNC fan, and if I see somebody step onto the North Carolina court wearing 50, I'm upset. Like, that's Tyler Hansborough's number.
Right.
So I think
It would solve a lot of problems.
It would solve a lot of problems if there was a cut and dry, no, you can't do that.
Yes.
I think, to what you're saying, Rachel, I think money is one thing, NIL is one thing.
Yes.
Money is a different conversation, but don't get in between a fan base and its like traditions.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
that's
Some
the
things
perfect way to put it.
still, I think, have to be sacred, and I think that's how any fan of any legendary program across the country would feel.
And when you talk about sacred, you got to understand, always remember the person that wore that number too, and what he or she put into that effort and into wearing that number and having that number and playing well for those years and not wanting it to be worn again.
And also, like, that person not having had the luxuries of, being able to be paid for what they're doing now, I think that's a huge testament, too. Like, he did all he did for the university and the basketball team just to do it for a basketball team. It wasn't because he was trying to build you weren't trying to make money when he was doing it here.
Yeah, and just look at it like this, off the record, I don't think anybody will ever wear 22 again.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever wear 15 again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just retire their numbers. I know a lot of people say it's the name, and I understand that part. It's the name, not the number. But the number has a lot to do with it also.
What's social media saying?
All right, so I put out a little feeler on Twitter to see how people felt about this, and some interesting, honestly, more mixed responses than I thought, so I'll read some of them. Syracuse Waterboy, Cuse Waterboy, we know him, he's always writing in. He said, I've been saying for years that 44 should be brought back into the fold. I'm 38 years old, and I'm the last generation who remembers guys like John Wallace and Rob Conrad wearing it. Anybody under the age of 35 doesn't truly understand why that number is important now. There's some other ways, some people saying let him wear it. Some people saying at the end of the day, it's a number on a jersey. It has zero impacts on wins and losses. Cuseman7 said all due respect, but he's definitely not worthy. Somebody else said Derek Coleman's throwing a tantrum and needs to grow up.
So it's a
It's
nice
mixed.
50-50
mix.
down the middle. I'd say it's probably heavier sided with the people that aren't happy with it. I would say maybe like a 60-40,
Right.
but that's why the debates are here, man. Let us know in the comments. Keep
Yeah.
us posted. Let's talk
So
to
Lampkin, you better play well,
yeah.
Yeah.
or we coming out.
Let's talk Judah.
I love when he talks to the camera.
Yeah. It goes right through the lens. Let's talk Judah Mintz, guys. Ashley, I'm going to let you kick this off. You put these notes together.
Yeah.
So the NBA draft will be happening probably when you're listening or watching this, and we'll see. It's a we'll see. But what are the pros and the experts saying on Judah?
Yeah, it's a we'll see situation. I mean, I think right now, if you had to make me bet on this, I would say he doesn't get drafted. ESPN has him as the 39th ranked guard, 81st player overall. But a few mock drafts still do have him in the top 58, so there's a chance. Some ESPN analysts saying, everything that we know about him, that his style might not translate to the NBA on paper, but at the same time, there was a reason that he had so much success at Syracuse and in the ACC. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think that he will go undrafted and probably catch on somewhere as an undrafted free agent.
Can you read to us what ESPN's Jonathan, is it Gavoni?
I think so.
That's how you pronounce it. But
Gavoni?
he to me, I thought this was one of the more detailed descriptions of Judah Mintz's play that starts strong and then he critiques.
Yeah. So he said, quote, Mintz is a relentless slashing combo guard who was the ACC's second leading scorer as a sophomore, getting to the free throw line at a tremendous rate. Then he says his ball-dominant, inefficient offensive style was not particularly aesthetically pleasing. He struggles to make three-pointers effectively, relies heavily on tough mid-range pull-ups, and turns the ball over excessively, lacking length on the perimeter with a middling 6'3" wingspan. He also said he has a ways to go with his decision-making and isn't a good enough shooter to compensate.
So it lays it all on the line. And I don't think there's much I disagree with. I mean, the three-pointers was the thing that had us here last summer saying what needs to change, what really needs to pick up, and it was eliminating turnovers, and it was getting a consistent three. And because he didn't show that again, that to me sparks trouble of getting drafted. And I see it could that day come for sure. It's not like a Ben Simmons situation. You know what I mean? It's he could get there, but until that happens, I think I'd be pretty shocked if he gets picked.
What do you think, Moten?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get picked. Of of course, being orange blood, I hope the best for him, and I truly hope he gets picked. But the key is just to get on a team and, show your skills, because every team has, every coach is different. So if you get the right coach and the right scheme, maybe something will fit. But I just think he wasn't ready personally anyway. I thought it would be best for him to come back, make a little more money, and be a leader, show more leadership, and show that he can knock down the three.
Right.
But hey, hopefully, he'll get on a team. He'll get a tryout. And,
Yeah, that being said.
And the rest will take care of itself. But just to be talked about, in the top 100 players, whatever, is an honor, and if you get picks, it's an honor no matter what number you're picked, coming from somebody from experience, it's a life-changing moment for these young kids. Tomorrow, it's going to be 60 guys that their lives have changed for forever, on whatever they want to do and however they want to take their careers. But to be picked is definitely a blessing. When my name was called, I remember my whole family.
Where
I was
you
at
get
my
called?
grandmother's house.
Oh, there you
36, yeah, at my grandmother's. But the Post Standard or Channel 9, one of the channels, brought a camera person to my grandmother's. So I had about 50 family members there with me, and they called my name, and everybody screamed. And I remember the first thing I did, I ran upstairs, and I went to the bathroom and got on my knees, and I thanked God. And I said, "Where's Vancouver?" Because it was the franchise, Vancouver and Toronto.
Yeah,
was the first
yeah.
year. So I thought about damn, where the hell is Vancouver? So I was like, all right, let's get it.
Yeah, your
cracking.
mom's probably like, you could not have been farther away from me.
Yeah, oh man, it was definitely a surreal moment and a happy moment. I can remember just hearing people drive by bumping the horn because they knew that was my grandmother's house and they knew I was there. So. Oh yeah, it was special, definitely.
That's so exciting.
That is great. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would really add is I agree with all of the things that this guy from ESPN is saying, and I could see where if you're one of the decision makers, you could be thinking that on paper it all doesn't look great. But I guess what I would say is if he was going to get a chance with a team, I just think that it would need to be a place where it really was the right fit for him. Mm-hmm. Like when I saw some of the bad decisions that he would make throughout the year, maybe some of the selfish decisions that he would make throughout the year, I felt like sometimes he was only overcompensating because he just felt like he didn't have the right weapons around him. And I always wondered if he did feel like he had the right support, if he did feel like he had people who he felt truly 100% confident and trusting to pass the ball to, if he would have been a little bit of a different style player. So I still am not convinced that we have seen all that he would be able to do.
I agree with you, Sam, 100%. But at the end of the day, when you take it to that next level, you already know your role. And Judah Mintz's role in the NBA won't be scoring. It'll be finding, distributing the ball, playing good defense, things like that they're going to want from him, not scoring. They already have scores.
Do you see, because I do see him on a summer league team for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have zero doubt about that. If he ends up not making a roster, do you see him more as being in the developmental league, G League, or do you see him maybe taking shots straight overseas?
I don't know. I could see him going the overseas route. I don't know why, but I feel like that is something that maybe he, there's more money. There's a lot of money overseas in comparison to trying to work his way up. So I don't know. I could see him overseas.
Yeah, because it's a really interesting question now because it's you can look at Cole Swider and say, wow. I mean, granted, he and Buddy had the two-way contracts, which give them like some time up, some time down. I'm sure that heavily weighed into his decision. But largely you're playing not in the NBA. You're making less, but you have that opportunity right there to get called up. Whereas if you're playing overseas, as I'm sure you can tell us, like that transition is a lot harder. Once you make that move.
Absolutely, and to piggyback on what you said, which is very important, is if you decide to go overseas, which he will definitely make more money, but they'll forget about you quick in the NBA. So, because they have another draft coming up.
There's not too many Patrick Beverleys, right? That can go over there and then come back.
And it's a different type of style, and you have to be a mentally strong type of person to want to deal with playing overseas. I was able to handle it for the simple fact that I love to travel and I love to learn different cultures and how other people live. But I know friends that were very good that just said, I'm not going over there.
Homesick,
too
far.
I can't speak the language,
right.
So it all depends. Hopefully he has a good, strong people behind him to help him make the right decisions. That's what's lacking right now also with a lot of these young youth is that they don't have the strong people telling them the right things. They're just telling them what they want to hear.
I don't know that he wouldn't go overseas, but there's a part of me that just thinks he shouldn't. I think I tend to agree with Moten's point where, that's powerful that if you go overseas, they'll forget about you. I think if he really wants to take a shot at it, I could see him taking, a G League route first.
I think
that's what I would do.
No, absolutely.
To be honest.
Absolutely.
Especially because he's in some of these mock drafts for a reason.
Yes.
Right? He's in this conversation. We're talking about him for a reason because there's a chance that this works out.
Yes.
And I think if he's able to, and I think to give that chance the best shot, I think it's staying here, working with their team of people, and seeing what we can create Judah Mintz into. We're rooting for him.
Absolutely. And also look at it like this. It just popped on my dome. He'll be a junior, right? Is he a junior? Would he be a junior?
Would he be? Yeah.
So it'd be like your junior year in the G League.
That's true.
True. He's 20. Like, he's still 20 years old,
Crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so young to be making
That's what I'm
such
saying.
Yeah.
intense life decisions. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's wild. All right, let's finish with women's basketball. So Sue Ludwig, and if you're a Syracuse fan, but maybe you don't live in Central New York or have been around this community, Sue is she's retiring. She's an assistant coach with Felicia Lee-Getjack, who's one of her great friends. She was her teammate back in the 80s. Sue was a captain, all Big East. She could ball, and she was part of this new era of women's basketball and turning around this program. But before that, she grew into a legend here in Central New York with West Hill High School girls basketball. It's a high school right on the outskirts of the city, and she was there for 31 years and won more than 10 section championships, 5+ regionals, and then had a state championship in 1996. So she has been a part of the culture of girls and women's basketball and developing that sport. And so she's great, and we're wishing her the best. And she's just really taking a step back, and because that's a 24/7 job. And I don't think it's the end of seeing her in the program. I think we'll be still seeing her around. But we have Ty Evans coming in, and Ty Evans is a guy who was a head coach, Tennessee State, and then before that, he's been all over. So a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, I think Sue Ludwig, I don't remember the exact wording in the Syracuse Athletics press release, but we were going over it yesterday, and it doesn't really seem like she's not going to be there anymore. Even they took the first team photo yesterday that said like 2024, 2025. She was still in the picture. So I think it's more of a step back than anything from her formal role, probably not recruiting anymore, but I think she's still going to be around the team and around the program. She's only 58, so I would be surprised if she's not around frequently.
I like this quote here. Did you write this down? Mm-hmm. Read that. Tell people where'd you find that?
Ty Evans told Syracuse Athletics on taking the job. He said, "Coach Jack is one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. If she offered, I was accepting."
Like, that is powerful.
Big time.
That is really a powerful sentence. And again, I know we go back to this frequently, but like, man, oh man, if there's one thing that really has gone right for Syracuse in the past few years, it is the head coaching hires. Like, I think about that frequently, and the way that that's shifted around, the way that the entire fan base feels, the entire community feels. I think that just says so much about FLJ and the way that people in the basketball world and beyond view her.
Yeah, we've talked about this so many times, but Syracuse women's basketball was in a bad place when Felicia Lee-Getjack was hired. So in just 2 years, I mean, back-to-back 20-win seasons, the NCAA tournament last year, and just the energy and the atmosphere, she's really just turned everything around, and it's great to see.
It's great stuff. And Rachel, before we get out of here, forgot to get Judah Mintz, draft or no draft, summer league or no summer league? There you are. Hold on. Yeah.
I'm thinking no draft, summer league. So nothing too far from what everybody else was saying, but I just kind of want to go back to that evaluation of him. The thing that stuck out to me the most was not particularly aesthetically pleasing. That wording really got me. I think it makes sense. I think you think about the people that are really excelling in the NBA and that people want to draft to the NBA, and that's kind of one of the first things that comes to mind about the way they play. So I think that all ties back to decision making and everything that was discussed with that, and kind of just his instinct to, I don't know, maybe rush through a developing set or things like that, but not particularly aesthetically pleasing. Do I think that can change? Sure, but I don't think it will change in the right ways overseas. I think if he really wants a shot at the NBA, I think he's got to stay in the country.
Definitely. Stay here 2 years in the G League, and maybe you'll have a shot. You'll be a senior G League-wise.
There we go. All right. That's our show. Tommy Sladek, Ashley Wenskoski, Samantha Croston, Lawrence Moten, Rachel Culver. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. I forgot to say that in the beginning. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it. And comment. Let us know. I think we're going to have a bunch this week, and we'll be going over them. See you later. Peace.